Alright, the Pocophone F1 is without a doubt the best value on an Android smartphone with the latest Snapdragon 845 processor, retailing at just $300. There are even reports that Xiaomi is selling this smartphone at a loss. In this review, I'm going to cover the good and the bad with the Pocophone F1 after using over a month. Let's go and take a look. Alright, so what's good with the Pocophone? First, the Pocophone F1 has the latest Snapdragon 845 processor. I've played hours of PubG on my Pocophone, and the Snapdragon 845 never lagged in any way, and the phone even has cooling mechanism to keep the phone cool. In fact, my brand new Pixel 3 XL heats up more than the Pocophone while playing the PubG. I'll have a video on it, but I can really notice the Pixel 3 XL heating up while the Pocophone keeps its cool. If you want a fast smartphone with the latest Snapdragon processor without spending more than $300, this is it. And second, it's got a whopping 4,000 mAh battery. That is more than most flagships, and the Galaxy Note 9 also has 4,000 mAh battery. In my daily driving the Pocophone F1, I've never had a problem with battery life, and I don't think you will either. Third, it's got a killer camera. It's got the same camera sensor as the Pixel 3. Although it has no OIS, if you do install the latest Pixel 3 camera, which I have here, you're gonna get killer low light performance with HDR Plus Enhanced, and it's gonna make up for having no OIS. And I found that it does keep up with the Mi 8 just fine when you use it with the Pixel 3 camera. And this is one of the few phones where the Pixel 3 camera is available now. A lot of other phones like V40 and Note 9 still have not gotten support for Pixel 3 camera. It does also have manual mode for photos, which allows you to really dial in what you want to do with the phone. In fact, with a shutter speed of 32 seconds, you can take star photos with it. Now, it also has one of the best portrait modes, especially for the front camera. Let me go and demonstrate. I did a full comparison of the front portrait mode and the back portrait mode against the Galaxy S9, LG G7, and the Mi 8. And the Pocophone had better selfie portrait than the Galaxy S9 and G7. The back portrait shots are also excelente. Now, since there's no OIS, your 4K videos are gonna be shaky. And as you can see, I'm just holding my phone here, and you will still get shakes. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. With the money you save, you can go ahead and grab a gimbal like DJI Osmo 2, which I actually recommend for about $120. Alright? And you'll be able to take excellent 4K videos. In fact, I did post my 4K video test with the Pocophone on my tripod and camera gear, and it did a terrific job. Overall, at $300, you're not gonna find a better camera, never mind keeping up close to the flagship phones today. And this phone's camera is simply amazing. And it's also got fingerprint scanner that's quite fast, 1, 2, 3. Which is literally instant, 1, 2, 3. And it does have 3D facial recognition. Alright, right now I'm not able to show it. It's actually broken on MIUI 10 I'm running right now, but it does run flawless on the stock MIUI 9. Bottom line, you get a fast fingerprint sensor along with 3D facial recognition, which is secure, works in the dark. For $300, you can't beat it. Alright, fifth, you got a pretty decent 1080p screen. It's not the brightest out there, but it's not something you're gonna complain about. And it's not 720p. It doesn't have the best viewing angles, but it's definitely a decent screen I wouldn't call cheap or budget. Alright, sixth, it's got a pretty decent speaker and microphone. Not the best, but you will have plenty of sound, and microphone works well. Nothing to complain about. Here's a quick demo. This is at its loudest setting. Seventh, while most Xiaomi phones come with iPhone-style MIUI launcher, which I hate because you don't have an app drawer, you get a customized Pocophone launcher with the Pocophone. You don't have that weird iPhone launcher, and you don't have to bother installing a third-party launcher. This is a small feature of the Pocophone, but I really dig that Xiaomi paid attention and made a new launcher for the Pocophone. Alright, lastly but not least, you can unlock the bootloader after 15 days for the global version I have here. You can see I have unlocked my bootloader, and basically from here I can go ahead and install any custom ROM. If you don't like the software on it, you can install the latest Lineage OS and even run the latest Android 9.0 Pie already, which is what I'm going to do actually after. I left it on MIUI 10 because I wanted to do this review with the MIUI software for the review. But as soon as I'm done with this review, I'm getting rid of that and installing Lineage OS. Now let's go ahead and talk about what's bad with this phone. First off, If you live in the US, your 4G LTE coverage is nearly very spotty because it doesn't have all the support for all the bands. For example, I am getting 4G right now. Now, a lot of times I will actually drop to Edge, which makes my phone completely unusable. And if you're on AT&T or T-Mobile in the US, you're gonna drop to Edge a lot. All right, you're gonna have to live with that. With that said, if you live in Europe or Asia, it supports all the bands there, so you should be good to go. Unfortunately, this phone was not built for US customers. So definitely, if you can live with that, I would still recommend it. But if you can't live with that, definitely think again. All right, also, it does have a really good display, but it's not great. When I use Pocophone versus my Mi 8, my Galaxy Note 9, LG V40, I can see the difference even when watching the same 1080p video. It's not a huge amount, but I just do prefer using my other phones due to the better screen. Also, if you do use your phone in the sun often, you're not gonna obviously get the best screen. All right, viewing angles are not that great, but I think at 300 bucks, that can be a sacrifice. And obviously they need to cut costs somewhere, but that's one of my biggest complaints. And also the notch. The notch is so huge. I've got it turned off here. Let me go ahead and show you the notch. With this phone, you don't get any notifications. You'll have to literally swipe down. Look at how many notifications I have. You'll get 0 notifications in your notification bar. That could be a problem. I did get used to it. I just got used to just swiping down if I need to check my notifications. Also, obviously, you can use a vibration to know that you have notifications. But it's definitely an issue because even when you hide the notch, you're not going to be able to see notifications. So what they should have done is actually when you hide the notch, go ahead and bring down the whole screen a little bit. All right, so you can actually make use of the notifications. Now, the notch is also a problem when you play games because it will actually go over the game instead of cutting the notch out. Like an area of the display you can't see. It's not a huge deal, but when playing games like PubG, sometimes the enemy can be like over here and you're gonna miss that little spot. You can already see that it's actually covering my left button there. So this is a software issue they can fix. And also, if you do install a custom ROM, you can go ahead and install something like the Pixel Experience ROM and be able to get rid of the notch area completely and also get your notifications. I should have a video on that. Alright, lastly but not least, this is not gonna win any design awards. It's not the sexiest phone you'll find. It's got a polycarbonate back. It's a little on the thick doggo side. If this was a dog, it would definitely be a very chubby puppy. Now, with that said, I don't actually use it naked anyways. If you use a case, it shouldn't be a big problem. And with the case on, I don't really care for it. But this is definitely not a head-turning phone. Again, at 300 bucks, who cares, right? But yeah, the design isn't exactly top quality. But I do like the fact that it doesn't look like an iPhone. It actually has its own unique look, unlike the Mi 8. Alright, overall, the Pocophone F1, it is incredibly cheap in terms of how much you pay for a smartphone. In fact, it is so low, I can't actually believe that it's only $300. At this price, I would expect a 720p screen with yesteryear's maybe Snapdragon 660 processor, a shitty camera, a shitty touchscreen. But for the money you pay, you actually get a decent 1080p screen, the latest Snapdragon 845 processor that you can enjoy the latest games on, and you get a decent camera that keeps up with the latest flagships. And low light performance is not that great, but you can go ahead and install the Pixel 3 camera app and works fine. It keeps up with the Mi 8. I mean, the Pocophone F1 does a lot of things that other flagships don't. It's got a whopping 4,000 mAh battery. You got dual SIM support. That also has dual 4G connectivity for both SIMs. And also 3DR recognition, although you have to set the region to India. And even a micro SD card, something that's missing on pretty much all other Xiaomi phones. I mean, it is built for all-day gaming and all-day use. The biggest question, is this the best smartphone I have used at $300? Hell yes. If you just don't have more than $300, you just can't go wrong with this smartphone. I actually love the Pocophone, especially playing games. I mean, it's nearly flawless.
Click here to subscribe.